Hi class, I have marked your linear relation papers. Please see my comments on my panola. We're lucky because with trigonometry, we will be able to do the test when we're back at school in a few weeks' time. When labelling a triangle, you'll remember from last lesson that this is the hypotenuse. It's the longest side and it's opposite our right angle. This little symbol here, this is an angle. It can be called theta. Then if I'm going to label the other two sides, this side over here is my opposite side because it is opposite the angle theta. And I don't know if any of you remember this from all the way back in year 9, but this side down here, it's called the adjacent side. So it's next to the angle. On the next slide, I'm going to show you an easy tip how to remember which one is the opposite side. First thing I'll do is pop in the hypotenuse, the longest side opposite the right angle. Now to find which is the opposite side, this is my trick. If you put your finger on the angle, you will never be able to touch the opposite side. So if this is my hand and I put my finger on the angle there, I'll never be able to touch the opposite side. So I can touch this side and I can touch this side. So the one that I'm not touching over here, it is my opposite side. I've already got the hypotenuse labeled, which must mean this other side here is adjacent. All right, let's do some practice. The first thing I'm going to do is put in the hypotenuse. I'll just use the letters this time, H. Then if I put my hand or my finger on the angle there, I'll never be able to touch the opposite side. So that means this one over here, it's the opposite side. And the one left over, it's adjacent. This next one here, I always put in the hypotenuse first, the longest side opposite the right angle. Then if my hand is on the angle, it will never touch the opposite side. So it's touching this side and this side. So this one over here, opposite, and the other one is adjacent. Next one, hypotenuse, put my hand on the angle, that must mean this is the opposite, and the other one is adjacent. This one here, hypotenuse, longest opposite the right angle, hand over here, that must mean this is the opposite, and this is adjacent. The trig ratios are sine, cos, and tan. Or you might remember we call it SO, CA, TOA. So that's the way to remember the trig ratios, SOCA, TOA. It's important that you only label the given sides of a triangle, so sides that have information on it, like a number or a letter. For instance, with this triangle here, I would only label this side because it's got information, and this side here, the given sides. Let's practice choosing which trig ratio we'd use. So remember, we've either got SO, CA, or TOA. So this first triangle here, I'm going to label the given sides. So this side here, this is a hypotenuse, the longest side opposite the right angle. And if I put my hand on this angle here, I'll never touch the opposite side. So that must mean this over here is the opposite. So if I've got O and H, that must mean it's sine. Alrighty, next triangle. So we don't have the hypotenuse labeled here within any information. If I put my hand on this angle, I'll never touch the opposite side, so that must mean this is the opposite. And this one here is the adjacent. So I've got O and A, TOA. So that means this is tan. a little bit more practice about which ratio to use. So I'd always write at the top of my paper, soka toa, so I know which one to pick. So label the triangle, don't have the hypotenuse, have the opposite and the adjacent, so that the letters of O and A are in toa, so it's tan. Next one, we've got the hypotenuse and don't have the opposite, we've got the adjacent, A and H, that's ka, so cos. And then the last one, we've got the hypotenuse and the opposite, O and H, sine. So for this whole topic, it's really important that your calculator is on the right settings, or every answer will be wrong. So your calculator must be in degrees, and we want it to give us an approximate answer. I'm going to show you how to change these settings on the CAS now. So press the home button here, then go down to settings, document settings. Now where it says angle, you need to change this to be degree, and where it says calculation mode, instead of being auto, we want it to be approximate. Then click make default, OK. So they're the settings you want on your CAS. If you're using one of the small scientific calculators, just make sure it says DEG on the top of the screen. You don't want it to say RAD. DEG is the setting we're looking for. So I'm going to show you some other things on the calculator. You might be asked to find the value of sine 43. So these are the steps you would follow to put it into your CAS calculator. Click the home button, select the calculator. To get the trig functions, you press this button that says trig on the keypad, then you can select sine and say we're doing sine 43 and then enter, which is equals, and that will give me the answer there. You guys obviously probably already know how to do this on your little calculator, but it's important you know how to do it on the CAS as well. All right, so this one here you might not have seen before. It's a bit different, but you need this for, I think it's on the problem solving actually. So cos 40 degrees, 11 dash. The 11 dash just means 11 minutes. I'm not going to go too much into why that is. I'll just show you how to do it on the calculator. Click trig and we'll choose cos. Then to get the degrees and the minute symbols, you press this button here with the squares on it that we're using in linear relations. So then you can select the one here which has the degrees symbol and the minutes. So in the first bit, we're going to write 40 degrees, and then in the next one, 11 minutes. Doesn't matter if the last one's blank, like this question is, you can just press enter and it will give you the answer. All right, so I'm going to show you how to put this one here on the calculator, 31 degrees, 25 minutes, and 10 seconds. So I press the button with the boxes, then the one which has degrees, minutes, and seconds. And I'm going to just write 31 in the first bit, 31 degrees, 25 minutes, and 10 seconds. Then press enter, and it tells me my answer there. If you're still using one of these old calculators, the degrees, minutes, and second button is this one here, and the trig buttons are these three here. So with today's worksheet, question 1, you just need to label the sides you've got information for and decide which ratio to use. So for instance, hypotenuse and opposite, so I would use sine, etc. This, you just put it into the calculator. Same with this one, just put it into the calculator. Remembering I showed you how to get the degrees and the minute symbols.